attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But can I just say this?
Have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do a cancellation.
It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
One Bill Maher is taking another swing at Whoopi Goldberg, and this encounter is truly intense. Whoopi is frequently criticized for what many view as detached perspectives and questionable remarks, but few are as prepared to confront her as Bill Maher. His rebuttal was sharp, uncompromising, and incredibly blunt. So, remember to subscribe as we jump straight into the details.
Hey, what did you think of Whoopi Goldberg saying it's worse to be a black person in America today than a woman in Iran? You know, I see we were talking about the trans issue before, and the New York Times really has come over on that to the sort of the sensible, liberal, not crazy woke position. I think this is great first step toward getting the Democrats back to sanity, and a second good step would be we got to do something about The View. I really believe that. I mean, could you just
It's huge in Iran, though.
Bill Maher is calling out Whoopi Goldberg for a specific assertion that fails to stand up to basic facts. Maher maintains that comparing black Americans to women in Iran ignores the fundamental realities of their lives. In Iran, women live under state-mandated legal and social chains, from strict dress codes to severe inequality in marriage and law. Many face prison time just for resisting the mandatory hijab. Meanwhile, black Americans participate in every level of society, voting, leading corporations, and shaping national legislation. The difference is massive. Maher's critique cuts through the rhetoric, exposing what he views as a deeply flawed comparison that ignores Iranian oppression while dismissing American liberty.
Watching The View in Iran, all with the same head cover. You can't even tell which one is which.
My district in the great state of Texas is actually a white majority district that President Trump would have won by 25 points. As I said, I'm a direct descendant of a slave. My great-great-grandfather was born on a Rosedown plantation. I am literally being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. That's the progress, because, like, a lot of white people had to vote for me. A lot.
So
I don't even ever want to hear Whoopi Goldberg's conversation about how it's worse to be black in America right now. That's a bit far. And my father, who's 75 years old, he was a man that was in the French quarters that had to go get a sandwich to the back door of the building. And his son is now a United States congressman in a white majority district in Texas as a Republican. That is America. That's America.
Wesley Hunt utilized a powerful perspective by sharing the story of his great-grandfather, who faced genuine, systematic hardship over a century ago. That context alone demonstrates the incredible distance the black community has traveled since those difficult eras of American history. Moving from state-sanctioned exclusion to reaching the highest tiers of government and industry is a historic transformation. This is precisely why observers feel Whoopi Goldberg's claims are out of touch. They seem to ignore this growth in favor of a narrow perspective, while challenges remain. Exaggerating them into a distortion benefits no one. To critics like Hunt, this is part of a trend where nuanced social issues are swapped for provocative sound bites.
Juneteenth, that's a Texas holiday. It began in Texas in Galveston. General Granger came and read the Order Number 3 that finally abolished slavery months after the war, because the war took a time to get to Galveston. We celebrated that when I was a kid in Texas, but it becomes national a year or two ago, and Donald Trump doesn't want to celebrate that. To me, it's exactly what you're talking about. So is it 600,000 people died so that we wouldn't enslave people anymore, and the fact that freedom won is a good thing, and we should honor that. That's what Juneteenth's about. And I don't know why President Trump doesn't want to honor that.
So I don't want it. I don't want Black History Month. I don't want all these days for it to make everybody feel special. I'm an 80s baby. Everybody's too sensitive anyway. We're all Americans anyway. This holiday
That's what Morgan Freeman said.
He said, I can't agree more with him.
Yeah, he said that to Mike Wallace. He said, I'm an American. Do you want to be called a Jew American, Mike?
No.
Interestingly, Bill Maher finds himself on the same page as Donald Trump regarding this specific topic. It isn't actually that shocking, given Maher's long-standing frustration with extreme identity politics. His point is provocative. Dedicating specific months to certain races might come from a good place, but it risks creating more distance between people rather than bringing them together. From his view, constantly highlighting our differences, whether racial or politically, can accidentally widen the gaps we are trying to close. Instead of a shared identity, it pushes people to view life solely through a racial lens. While some see this as necessary recognition, Maher worries that true unity shouldn't be divided into segments.
We'll celebrate Juneteenth, too. And non-Italians celebrate Columbus Day. And
I'm all for any holiday.
I'm a half Irish. Do I get half the day off on St. Patrick's Day?
But a lot of
I get half drunk?
everybody gets drunk on St. Patrick's Day. That's a good point.
Did you have a question for the congressman there?
No, are you telling me you're black?
Yes.
You don't see color, right?
We don't see
Unbelievable.
We don't see color.
The point made by Maher's guest really hits home for many. Perhaps we should stop defining ourselves strictly by race and start focusing on our shared identity as citizens. This isn't about erasing history or pretending we are all the same. Our backgrounds and heritages are significant and give us value. However, the argument here is one of proportion. When race becomes the only filter for every interaction, the things that actually connect us get lost. Focusing too much on what divides us can eventually break down social bonds. The objective should be to celebrate diversity without losing our sense of community. It's not about being colorblind, but about ensuring color doesn't dictate our entire national identity.
Okay, and finally, new rule. Someone must tell the usual suspects on the far left that the saying is, when you're in a hole, stop digging, not keep digging. Talk about doubling down on what got you fucked in the first place. Even the one concession I've heard a few people on the losing side offer, that liberals should stop saying the Trump voters are stupid, comes with a kind of unspoken parentheses. We know they are stupid, just don't say it. Yeah.
Maher then shifts his focus to The View, claiming the program is actually damaging the liberal cause. He believes the panel's penchant for extreme takes and disconnected commentary makes the entire left wing look out of sync with regular people. Rather than making liberal values more attractive, Maher argues it has the opposite effect by alienating potential supporters. He notes that when the average person hears these arguments, they aren't won over, they become cynical. Even fellow liberals feel let down, believing the show fails to represent sensible or realistic viewpoints. With Whoopi Goldberg often at the center of these moments, Maher feels the messaging is simply failing to help the movement.
Yeah, I got bad news for you. They don't have a monopoly on stupid. You wear Queers for Palestine t-shirts and masks 2 years after the pandemic ended. And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person.
Bill Maher is being completely transparent in his criticism of Whoopi Goldberg and the other hosts. He accuses them of choosing woke narratives over discussions rooted in reality. In his trademark style, the critique is harsh and direct. He argues that the show's dialogue often wanders away from evidence, relying instead on high-emotion takes that don't survive a fiction. According to Maher, Watching the show can feel less like an actual debate and more like an echo chamber where no one is challenged. He suggests that many of the panel's claims ignore basic logic, which only invites more backlash from across the political world. For him, it's about demanding a higher standard of truth.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit. The Democratic polling firm Blueprint told Democrats months ago that black voters, aka their supposedly liberal base, were more likely to find the president too liberal than too conservative. They also found that voters didn't just want Harris to distance herself from Biden, they wanted her to distance herself from what they believe the entire Democratic Party has become, a Portlandia sketch.
A growing group of observers believes the Democratic National Committee is losing its grip on reality. This perception is why many are suggesting that Kamala Harris should separate herself from polarizing rhetoric and internal chaos. The fear is that certain strategies are pushing away moderate voters and hurting the party's reach. However, as critics note, making that pivot is difficult. Many of the people expected to lead in the 2028 cycle are tied to the same ideological path, making a real shift unlikely. This creates a political cycle where the same messages and strategies keep repeating, leaving no room for the reset needed to change how the public sees them.
I want to talk about Whoopi Goldberg because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before. Sure. So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But can I just say this? I had on last week Ira Glasser, former longtime head of the ACLU, talking about free speech. Whoopi Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend, we can disagree with each other, should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech.
Bill Maher has had plenty of disagreements with Whoopi Goldberg over her various controversial comments on The View. Yet, despite their clashes, Maher sticks to his core belief in free speech. Even when he finds her views completely wrong, he never joins the calls to have her fired. To him, the idea of punishing someone for an opinion, no matter how provocative, is a slippery slope. He believes the remedy for bad ideas is more discussion, not silence. That is his firm boundary. At the same time, he points out a double standard. He suspects that if the situation were flipped, Goldberg and her colleagues would be much faster to demand he face consequences.
But isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
That's correct. I think that's not actually, like, you're right, the name raises questions, and certainly there's been some much covered internal politics on that show, but I do think that, you know, there is space. Even that show does have space. When Whoopi said what she said, there was quick pushback from other panelists. They were like, oh, I don't know. Actually, I think that might not be right.
Heart of the issue. The hosts often take a hard line and refuse to budge. When someone offers a different view, the mood quickly becomes hostile. Instead of an open conversation, it feels like a confrontation where a disagreement is treated as an attack. To observers, this suggests there is no room for a truly honest debate. When a show becomes this one-sided, it stops being an exchange of ideas and starts alienating the audience. Real progress comes from hearing different sides, not just one. The problem isn't having a strong opinion, but how you treat others who don't share it. Without respectful disagreement, the show becomes a closed loop. Ultimately, Maher's point is that prioritizing ideology over facts hurts the credibility of the entire message. And with that, we conclude today's video.